Hi, this is Billie Beene here with another segment of Truth by Billie Beene, episode 325. Today's date, May 20, 2022. Bio number 2, monkeypox, Ukraine surrender, and May and July. So let's get started. Some of my sources are God in the Bible, Patriot Subscribers, Cliff High, Gene Decode, Davoo77, Paul Begley, and Mike from around the world, Alexander Mercouris, Alex Chrstoferou, Moon of Alabama, Jacob Dreizin, and the Duran Report. And I'd like to say thanks, like, subscribe, and share. I have a subscribe button in the lower right corner of my screen. I'd like to say welcome to all 50 states, including Alaska, Hawaii, and the First Nations, Cherokee, Navajo, Hopi, Chickasaw, Mohawk, Apache, First Nation, Pitt River in California, Mohegans, Yakama Nation in Washington State, Potawatomi in the Midwest and Oklahoma, Ojibwe Nation in northern Minnesota, proud people who want peace and justice, Choctaw, Abenaki Tribe, Cheyenne, Massantucket Pequot, Blackfoot in Montana, Spokane and Colville, and Powhatan. And we say welcome. And we say welcome to the nations of Canada, England, France, Ireland, Philippines, South Africa, Netherlands, Indonesia, Scotland, Germany, Switzerland, New Zealand, Maldives, Nepal, Norway, Australia, Chile, Thailand, Belgium, Mexico, Brazil, Russia, Panama, Guam, a U.S. territory, Jamaica, an Icelander living in Spain and other people in Spain, Wales in the UK, Sweden, Italy, Puerto Rico, a U.S. territory, Romania, Bermuda, Bahamas, British territories, Morocco, Argentina, Northern Marianas Island, a U.S. territory, Denmark, Bolivia, Uganda, Iceland, Serbia, Bulgaria, Mauritius, a small island nation off of Africa, Ukraine, the newest, Czech Republic, Poland, Costa Rica, Malta, China, Hungary, and Israel. So let's get started. Okay, we're going to get started first with this bio number 2. We see coming on the horizon, and I'll show you. We know that God recently was talking about stereotypes and propaganda, and I'll show you, because that's what we're seeing. Okay, so we're hearing reports now about monkeypox. Davoo77 is putting this out, and he's using the news that's being put out. It's tying it to homosexual men like AIDS and HIV. Well, it's commonly known now that it came out in 2019, AIDS and HIV were made in a lab. They're a bioweapon. And they were released to homosexual men in the 70s via pharma for the arm for hepatitis B. AIDS and HIV are bioweapons. That's why when I researched the C virus in 2020, that was by about April, I came up with, it had different slices, like it had HIV, which affects your immune system. It had Ebola for some of its spreading infectious qualities, had malaria, had flu. Okay, not natural, made in the lab, bioweapon. And now we're learning this lab and that lab, but it's global. And most of the labs were funded by the shadow U.S. government. So yeah, got that going. Okay, now, so this is coming out. Now, in January, I put out like 3 videos. I'll link them for you. that had to do with a monkey accident. And where that happened, here we have Africa. We have a small island nation, Mauritius. And on this island, they have biolabs. And they brought 100 monkeys from Mauritius to New York, where they were met by trucks, 2 trucks that came from Florida, and they were ultimately going to go back to Florida because off of Florida they have a small island where they have a biolab. But they went from New York over to Pennsylvania, and they were accompanied by representatives of the health department of Florida and Pennsylvania. Kind of a setup operation. And there was an accident in Pennsylvania, and immediately these health officials jumped out, get away, back up, don't touch. But they were a little bit too late because in the confusion of the accident, a lady had gotten out and she thought it was a cat, she said, but she then discovered it was a monkey, but she had contact with the fluids of the monkey. Immediately, she was taken to a local hospital that was also operated by a local company that also had labs. And she antiviral and some other things. Okay, then, we continued just the report of her becoming exposed, and then she had a friend who said she became very sick. That was on social media. And then, of course, we heard nothing else. So that was in January. But I put that out because the whole thing seemed very bizarre to me. And I also said, like thousands of biology teachers across America, we always usually show at the end of our school year the movie Outbreak, because we wanted to be sure our students were exposed to certain concepts. So I recommend that for you too. All right, now, so now we're hearing these reports about monkeypox, and I'll get to that for you. And we're seeing the stereotype, and God recently came out with that information in a previous video about watch out for stereotypes and propaganda. Now, the monkeypox itself is like smallpox, but the death rate is less than smallpox, but it's still serious. And how contagious is it? Very contagious. You can get it from just touching a surface where an infected human or an infected animal has it. I mean, they've tracked it back several decades ago. There was a couple of cases in the United States from infected rodents, I think from Ghana, came into the United States. But now it's established, and you can also catch it from humans, exposure to body fluids, and that would include sex, drinking after them, eating after them, but also kissing, also just being close to them and breathing in when they're expelling respiratory drops. Okay. So it's very contagious. So that's going on. And we now have 11 cases in England, 9 cases in the US, and cases in Portugal. And now I'll show you links for some other things. So we got the monkeypox going on, and they're bringing it forward, and they brought it forward. That was accidental, I think, that monkey accident in January. Now we're talking about Jade Helm, which was a military exercise in 2015 with the intent being to lock down the human population. A primary location for this occurring was in several states, including Austin, Texas. Now we have in Austin, Texas, we have a new exercise. This is by the Department of Energy. It's the result of 18 months of planning. Includes 30 agencies, federal, state, and local, for responding to a radiological, a dirty bomb. Now, this is a story, bits and pieces being put forth by the shadow CIA. Okay, so now we have Mike from around the world is regularly on Pastor Paul Begley's Thursday night program. We assume Mike works for NSA. He's definitely affiliated with the government. Mike knows stuff. Monkeypox, okay, the origin is in England. I would question that. I haven't heard a whole lot about biolabs in England. Okay, and we're having cases inside the U.S. and in Canada and England. And this is Mike putting this out. The outbreak theory is that small meteorites are going to fall from the sky and carry bacteria that's resistant to antibiotics. Now, bacteria and viruses are totally different, so I'm not quite sure why Mike associated those. And a possibility from Mike from around the world is to isolate the U.S. borders, as currently going on in Shanghai in China. Okay, monkeypox. It incubates in 7 to 14 days, gives you flu-like symptoms, and you can get it from the air, from breathing those droplets, fluids, human to human, animal to human, and material. Yeah. All right. And the name of the radiological exercise that's going on in Austin, May 16 to 22, is Cobalt Magnet 22. Now, isn't it interesting that a cobalt bomb destroyed the atmosphere of Mars several hundred years ago? Yeah. Okay, now this is the propaganda that's being put out from the shadow CIA. Okay, dirty bomb, terror group from Afghanistan. And they're going to use the route used by the Ukraine refugees to escape. And they're going to have European documents. They're going to come to the U.S. And they're going to wear explosive vests with a dirty bomb, Cobalt 60. That was made by Iran. And also they're going to come across those open southern borders in Texas. Are you getting the drift of the propaganda? Okay, now a city hit by Cobalt 60 dirty bomb would be uninhabitable for decades. That's accurate. Iodine is not a protection against cobalt. All right. So it just came to me, and I give God the credit, how these pieces are working together. The monkey accident in January, when they were obviously bringing monkeys in that were infected with something from Mauritius to New York to Pennsylvania and then down to Florida. Okay, so we have that. We have 2015, we had Jade Helm. That was a huge military exercise, and with the stated objective to lock down the human population. Now we have this radiological exercise going on in Austin, Texas, that had been in planning for 18 months, just in case we have a dirty bomb go off. Okay, so, and now monkeypox. So these pieces are being tied together in the minds of the public through, I assert, propaganda. Okay, now we'll switch to Jim Willie, a PhD economist from Costa Rica. Jim. Okay. So Jim is saying, yeah, the supply chain is orchestrated sabotage by the, well, it's occurring globally, so it's by global governments. And, yeah. So we have, now he's moving to the food supply. Food supply will be going down, so that means the cost for food will be going up, and also gasoline, that's being orchestrated also. Jim Willie is saying this is a shadow action by NATO, and then they're going to blame Russia for the food shortage. Okay. And he's saying that inflation is, in the U.S., is 20 to 25%. That's huge. They're trying to hide it, but no. Okay. And he's saying, yeah, there's a slaughter of millions of chickens in the U.S. Yes, that happened this week. Okay. In the EU, the gas for rubles coming from Russia is taking their economies down. Now, Jim is saying this: in real estate, the prices for houses, the mortgage, is going to go down about 50% in the near future. So if you have a house to sell, it would be good to do it now. All right. So now we have Duran report. This is Alex Chrstoferou, he's a Greek journalist. Alexander Mercouris, London journalist. And Gonzalo Lira, he brought as a dual citizen, American, Chile, broadcast out of Ukraine. Okay. Saying that the NATO commanders realize they cannot win against Russia. And Gonzalo Lira is maintaining that the U.S. is primarily a naval power. But I think we American citizens would beg to differ. All right, now we're going to move to Ukraine. And I know it may be that some of us say, why are we spending so much time on Ukraine? Ukraine is the last stand to take down the New World Order. So it affects our nation and global nations. All right. So we have Odessa, we've got Moldova, Transnistria, Crimea, Mariupol, Luhansk, Donetsk, Kiev, Lviv. All right, and this we have Kharkiv. All right, this part is Russia. All right, so now in Mariupol, just over this past weekend, Russia cut the water, but it was understood that these, they were Azov, NATO, Ukraine military plus, because there were also mercenaries down there, thousands, and we understand thousands are still down there. Okay, so they started coming out, today's the 20th, on May 17, like small groups were coming out, and this was unconditional surrender. This is not, as the Zelensky government was trying to spin it, evacuation. No, it's unconditional surrender. And a small group came out, like 10, with a white flag, and eventually other groups came out. And we are discovering many wounded and also dead bodies. All right, and so Regis Tremblay also had on political scientist Dr. Kozan, who's a spokesperson for the Russian government. Okay, 3 categories of people who are coming out from Mariupol. So there's 3 categories. We have the Ukraine military, and they will be exchanged for Russian POWs. And they're covered under the Geneva Convention for treatment of POWs. We have the Azov, a quasi-military civilian organization that practices the philosophy of World War II Germany and engaged in crimes against humanity in various ways. They're going to have trials, and also Dr. Kuzan and also Army military analyst Jacob Dreizin said that these individuals, the Azov and also the Mercs, these are the mercenaries who are being paid to fight, are going to have trials, and they could be spending in the Arctic Circle, we know about Siberia, 25 to 30 years, or they could have the death penalty if it's proven that they actively engaged in crimes against humanity. So that's going on. So we've got these 3 groups, how they're going to be treated by Russia. Okay, now Dr. Kuzan is bringing this out that in the Donbass area since 2014, this is Dr. Kuzan's number and also Jim Willie, 40,000 Slavs were civilians, men, women, and children were just shot down. And plus there were 24,000 wounded. Most were killed. There was armless, not armed, civilians by Azov and by the Ukraine military. Okay, actively engaged in an act of genocide against a Russian-speaking ethnically Slav people, basically white Christians. Yeah. So that's been going on. Now, Dr. Kuzan believes that the highest number of the Ukraine assorted groups at Mariupol was 20,000. Regis Tremblay at Mariupol understands, and there are other sources for this also, there are still thousands underground, and they're seeing how the ones that do surrender are being treated. Okay. Now we're talking about we have Crimea right here, Mariupol, the front line, this is Donbass, these associated areas. So here's an area that's hot. Severodonetsk Lysychansk is a hotspot for the ongoing warlike activity in Ukraine. So now in this area, the Russian military, the Donbass People's Republic, it's made up of two groups, the Donetsk People's Republic and the Luhansk People's Republic. There's also the Chechen Republic volunteers and others. Have circled this area right here. It's called the Cauldron Move. And the Ukraine, Azov, NATO plus are trapped. Now the Ukraine groups had asked Kiev, of course Zelensky, we understand according to Gene the Code, is not even human, but Zelensky is a puppet actor who's taken his orders apparently from the shadow US and shadow British and other shadow groups. Okay. Who say, no, you can't retreat. Well, now they cannot retreat. They are locked in, and Russia is locked in and loaded. So, that's going on. Moon of Alabama is talking about, what's coming out of Mariupol. The civilians are free to go. The Ukraine military are POWs. They'll be exchanged for the Russian POWs. The foreign mercenaries will go to trial. And he's saying there's high-level foreign mercenaries. And they're all being interrogated. Azov is not considered a prisoner of war because they're not a formal part of the military of Ukraine. Okay. Now, this number is coming out for the total number that the Donbass, the People's Republic, are holding of the Ukraine, Azov, NATO, and others as prisoners of war. They have 7,500. They're non-wounded, they're being interrogated, some are being charged. Okay. And this hot area, Severodonetsk and Lysychansk, has 1/2 the population that Mariupol had. But it's an active, open field, a warlike setting, as opposed to a group being tied up in a warehouse. Now, Jacob Dreizin, Army military analyst, is bringing this out. Mariupol, 2,500 total. Have surrendered. He's saying 400 are wounded. They had 200 bodies they brought up. Russia is processing. It says they were refrigerated. And they have, so he's giving some numbers and some groups. He's got some details. He's saying there's 804 Azov, and they're the remnants of the 53rd Brigade, the 56th Brigade, the 36th Brigade, and then non-Azov is the 12th Brigade, and then a National Guard Ukraine military unit 3057. Okay. Now, Alexander Mercouris has this information. Mariupol, surrender. So he's saying in Mariupol, the number that have surrendered, this goes on day by day, is now up to 4,000. 1/3 are wounded. They have several hundred dead. And the number of Russia troops to circle Mariupol was 30 to 40,000 around the warehouse. Now, inside the warehouse, this correlates with another source we had for the Ukraine, Azov, NATO plus was 8 to 10,000. Now, we understand from multiple sources that there are still, even after these surrenders, they're still inside thousands inside the warehouse in Mariupol. Okay. So now Alexander Mercouris is bringing this out. Yeah. So now there are multiple sources, and this includes the ones I've been giving in this video, plus Gene the Code. They're trying to surrender, changing into women's clothes and trying to pass as civilians. We're generals. We don't have names yet for the US, for Canada, for Britain. So, who've just now surrendered. They'll be in for interrogation. Okay. And, yeah. Yeah, so they cannot, okay. So, Regis Tremblay is coming out with this. Russia, their political agenda, their political aim with regard to NATO. And I was surprised about that. They want NATO to withdraw and remove all infrastructure, that would be weapons, from all NATO nations that joined NATO since 1997. And that would include the Czech Republic, Hungary, Poland, Bulgaria, Romania, Slovakia, Slovenia, Albania, Croatia, and Montenegro. So we'll see how that goes. All right. Gonzalo Lira is bringing this. There's no open corridor from the west to the east for the Ukraine military plus. So they can't move supplies or weapons into the west. Okay. Dr. William Mount is bringing this out. Mariupol, warehouse surrender. 1,000 plus 1,100 Ukraine military, the formal military. And he's saying, oh, the generals that are coming out are U.S., French, we had Canada, and we had Britain. And he's saying they're 3-star generals. And Gene the Code also backs that up. So, yeah, got that going on. Now we'll move to sci-fi. Stephen Bannon, Israeli News Live, used to be with the CIA, currently has a ministry, but gets information regularly from the Pentagon. So let's see. Yeah. We know that things are going on with the sun, and there have been pictures of something like a black cube spaceship. and there are multiple sources for this, and Stephen's bringing this out, that you can now see it because it's not cloaked and it's close to the sun for recharge. So this is an alien vehicle. And according to Steve Quell, the individuals, the ETs that are on this cube-type spaceship are 20 feet tall. And yeah. And Stephen's bringing out some other things that are unrelated. Okay. So, we got the cube spaceship. Now, Stephen's bringing this out about water shortage. And this goes along with the food and the gas shortage, which is being orchestrated by the Black Hats. And he's saying that the water shortage is being orchestrated by weather modification by the Black Hats, and the objective is to divide the U.S. west and east. Now, Stephen is bringing this out that eventually the west and east are going to be divided because some catastrophe is going to happen, like Planet X or whatever. Okay. Now, Stephen's bringing this out that Russia has this technology. I submit to you that all major governments have this technology, and it operates on the earth and off-world. That they can use crystal technology to transfer a soul from a human body to a clone or to a robot. That's accurate. It's not just Russia. All right. Now, he's bringing this out. Okay. So now Stephen is bringing this out. Stephen Banoon. But this is also backed up by some information that came out from Peter, the Insider, who's the director of the 12th Division of the ACIO. All right. So Stephen is saying, yes, we do have spaceships that travel routinely between Earth and Mars. Now, the information that came out from Peter the Insider, I'd say 12 months ago, was that the that C virus, a part of it was made on Mars because it had to do with interlacing certain groups, and the atmosphere, the gravity on Mars was conducive to putting this inside the pharma for the arm and inside the virus. They also enhance the virus. Okay. Now, Stephen is bringing this out about what we've been seeing in the national parks with regard to creatures. So we can see national parks. And he's saying in Colorado in 1992, they found 2 naked men, their blood had been drained, and they were like the 1959 incident in Russia. I've covered that in a previous video. There were like 7 hikers and high up in a mountain. It was the dead of winter, very cold. They found them all naked, dead, and mutilated. All right. So that's going on in the United States. And they're also talking about 1997, an incident that happened in a national park. I think that one was in Alaska. All right, so the U.S. government believes they're dealing with a not-human creature that's like has some human. We don't know that it has any human DNA. It walks like a human. It's humanoid. And it looks like it's half bare and has claws. It's not a Bigfoot. And Stephen says the government does have a Bigfoot in captivity, and they've clocked it running at 120 miles per hour and jumping 45 feet straight up in the air. So yeah, but it's a big creature. Now this bear-like creature that's been operating in the parks, in 1997 they found where it had up 12 feet in a tree, had snatched off a branch, and it had claws prints in the branch, and it used the branch to beat to death a 1,400-pound Kodiak grizzly. Yeah. Right. Now, in Yellowstone in 2013, the Pentagon, outside a cave, was found a carving of a pentagram. Now, the Colorado Park investigation is ongoing, and it's called by the government Nephilim. And we know that's a fallen angel and human hybrid. Okay. Now, Stephen is saying in 2020, we're going to begin having alien disclosure. And things are going to be going on in 2026. It's predicted. And we have no clue about how much to believe the shadow government. That in 2026, some of these ET species are going to land on the earth. Now, this is interesting that Stephen brought this out. Skydance, the movie, is a true story. And I know Alien and Predator. So Stephen is saying Skydance is a true story. And these two are also, it's come out that they are true stories. And these two were talked about on Super Soldier Talk. James Rink, he interviewed Jimmy Payne, who gave the details on these two movies being true. And that correlated with my thinking. Because when I was, and I give the credit to God, because things just come together and I'm like, okay, what's going on here? So yeah, that's going on. So definitely I've got to watch that movie, Skydance. Yeah, because inquiring minds want to know what's going on. Okay, heads up. This is a new section got put in a few weeks ago. Okay. Suspicious observers is a science-based space weather and other impacts on the Earth. And he's saying that, yeah, we're having an impact, solar energy. Now we have Mike Morales. Mike does weather. He's an independent thinker. Also mentioning this, Carrington effect. Now, Carrington effect happened in the 1800s, affected our level of technology then was telegraph, and it set many of the telegraphs on fire from the solar energy coming in, and some of the telegraph operators were actually electrocuted. No, so and then it took out all the telegraphs. We didn't have electricity then, I don't think. So Carrington effect, that could take out electricity and like that. So like an EMP, take out your vehicles. All right. So possibility. And also talking about a galactic space magnetic reversal in the 2030s. That correlates the cliff highs, Webbot predictions of an ice age, and Ben Davidson with Suspicious Observers also supports that 2030 ice age scenario. Okay. Mike from around the world. Talking about Planet X. Now this is an independent Planet X, independent from other objects named Planet X. Okay. Now Stephen Bannon brought this out that in September of 22 and December of 22. Okay. This Planet X was going to enter our solar system. And according to this, Mike from around the world, it's going to remain on the outskirts of our solar system. Now, Stephen Bannon said it's going to enter our solar system in September of 2022, and it's going to begin to affect the planets in December of 2022. That correlates with what Mike from around the world is saying. It's going to remain on the outskirts. It is going to impact. Now, this is what he's saying. The stars are going to change positions. And that correlates to something I had from God a few months ago about God was winding up the constellations like you would a lock on a gym lock. You know, it's a combination lock and you wind it up. So stars changing position also correlates to the Bible. The Bible, where the earth would wobble and stars would change positions. Is there a time frame? Well, a lot of these sources are saying 2022 to about 2040. No, these other sources are saying Ice Age, 2030. So yeah, we got stuff going on. Heads up. And now Mike from around the world is saying this about the shortages. You know, like food, water, gas. Not disputing that they're being sabotaged. Is saying that it's to get rid of the current system and bring in a new system. A new system of what? Distribution? How would that work? And why is this going on? So we the people, we want to know more, don't we? So we'll have to check into that. We first have to have a little thread pull. Okay. Now, look ahead. Judy, Byington. And this is on May 18. Judy is bringing this up. Okay. Now, she's saying that the U.S. Republic has been restored to the original Constitution of 1776. And that on October 17 of 20. That can't be 2022. We're in May of 22. So that's got to be 21. All right. 34 states met in Washington, D.C. to restore the public. Now, February 4 of 2022, at Dyess Air Force Base in Abilene, Texas, they made plans. May 16, 2022, they're putting together an honor guard. So we're going to have what is an honor guard? An honor guard for what? How's that working? Gonna work. Okay. Now, she's saying they have 34 states, 10 declined. I have heard this from other sources, that Hawaii is going to become an independent nation. I've heard that. So, we have an exciting future to look forward to. It doesn't sound as if it's going to be static. Now, she's saying in 2020, there was a war between CCP versus the US, Russia, India, Japan, Taiwan. CCP lost and there were arrests. And so, yeah, well, we'd like to see some evidence of it. We're not seeing anything. Now, Judy Byington is bringing this up. Truthers. On a global basis, is about 3 billion people. Now, June Decode had brought this out that 30% of the population on Earth is human. And I had correlated that to 10 billion, so 30% would be 3 billion. So we can see, yeah, we see that coming out. Now, Judy is saying that the mainstream media is not presenting facts, and they're putting out fake satellite pictures allegedly showing Russia is in retreat. She is bringing this out that the Chinese military is moving to its borders, and in the past 3 months of 2022, that'll be March, April, May, all the Alliance Special Forces have been searching all vessels for hidden surface-to-air. I wonder if they're looking for the cobalt dirty bomb that the exercise in Austin, Texas is currently concerned about. We would have to believe that. Now we understand from ShariRaye, and we know that Cliff High and Jean Decode had given us May as a great month for President Trump to return. Sherry is bringing this out at EBS in July. So we look forward to the future, and we know that God has everything in hand. So a short prayer. First we'll do the cleansing prayer modeled by Jean Decode. We remove permission to be in us, on us, around us, on earth, off world, any dimension, any person, place, or thing not of God, any assemblage of fallen angels, any AI, nanobot, and other forms of tech, any non-terrestrial species, spirit, thought form, operating system, genetic overlay, past, present, and future. That's right. We say, get away from us. In the name of Jesus, whom many call Yeshua. And now, this prayer is 3 of 4 prayers in the Rest series. And the name of it is Rest for Your Soul. It's based on the King James Version. Jeremiah 31. I, God, have satiated, I have filled the weary soul. I, God, have replenished, I have resupplied every soul filled with sorrow. Psalms 4. I will lay down to rest. My body, my soul, my spirit, I will lay down in peace and sleep. For you, Lord my God, make us to dwell in safety. Romans 15. Now may the God of our hope fill us with joy and peace. We pray, O Lord our God, for an increase in our faith, which gives us deeper and refreshing rest. And we say thank you, Father, Son, Jesus, whom many call Yeshua, and the Holy Spirit. And I say to my family and friends, remain steady out there, continue to pray. God is in charge, and He is on the move. I love you, and I'll see you soon.